Story 1. The Sly Cooper series was unfortunately left behind in memory among Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank. Story 2. I guess it's pretty well known now, but playing co-op Divinity. Original Sin 2 with my high school Dungeons and Dragons friends was a fantastic experience. Story 3. I mention it every time a discussion like this arises, Immortals Fenyx Rising. Is similar to a playful sandbox version of God of War, perhaps a mix of God of War and The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. There are armor and weapon skins, upgrades, and spell enhancements. The story is charming and entertaining. The puzzles are engaging without being overly challenging. It's a hidden gem of a game, and I'm always surprised it isn't discussed more often. Story 4. Dune, released in 1992, is not the real-time strategy game Dune 2, but rather the interactive version developed by Cryo Interactive, which most people may not be familiar with. Story 5. Pass the Pigs features two small pigs that act as dice. You roll them, and depending on how they land, you earn various points. It's very enjoyable. Story 6. Xenosaga Trilogy. The first title sold well with over 1 million copies, but the series as a whole did not perform as expected. Nevertheless, it remains one of my favorite Japanese role-playing games. Story 7. Who is Lila? It is a point-and-click, pixelated-style adventure horror game. It explores heavy topics related to consciousness, will, and the concept of self. It is truly a masterpiece, filled with many intricate details and clear inspirations that enhance the story. It offers a fun experience while encouraging deep thoughts about significant concepts. Story 8. Alien Nation or the Nations cannot be played anymore on my current machine, and no one purchased the rights when the company Joe Wood went bankrupt. Story 9. Dredge, Lovecraftian horror fishing game. Amnesia, The Bunker, cat versus mouse-style survival horror. Hollow Knight, roguelike Metroidvania-style platformer. The Beginner's Guide, a collection of small games that you play through while learning more about the person who created them and the state of mind they were in while doing so. Story 10. Folklore for the PlayStation 3. Think Kirby or Mega Man, but you're stealing monster souls. I would love to buy a replica of Keith's jacket. Maybe I can absorb some of his attitude. Story 11. Worldbox. The God Simulator is a wonderful and beautiful sandbox game awaiting a major update in the next few weeks. It is free on mobile and costs a little on Steam, but it is totally worth it. The game also has an engaging community and an amazing development team. Worldbox is one of the greatest pixel games available. Story 12. Jade Empire is a beautiful role-playing game from 2005 that allows you to master martial arts in ancient China. I spent hours playing it on my old Xbox during college. The story takes on a different meaning when you choose between helping villagers or being unkind while wielding impressive martial arts powers. Story 13. Twister. Or do you mean the video game? If so, the Fable series from Xbox is my favorite. And Overlord. Story 14. Monster Train is a strategy card battler that I have somehow invested over 1,000 hours into. Inscription, while not entirely unknown, does not receive the exposure it deserves. It offers a brutal immersion experience for those who often restart and strive for perfection. Story 15. Dungeon Crawl. Stone Soup is the best roguelike dungeon crawler. There is a bit of a learning curve, but once you understand the basics, you'll play it for thousands of hours. Story 16. Lawn Mowing Simulator. I got it for free from Epic, and I love it. It's a great time-passing game. I have almost 1,000 hours on it. Story 17. Need for Speed World. The sole reason I am into cars, and I still can't believe they shut down the servers. Story 18. More people probably know about it than not, but the Earth Defense Force series is incredibly popular. Story 19. Cat Quest. It is a funny and silly game with a certain level of difficulty, enough to keep you challenged at times. And there are plenty of cat puns. There are now 3 Cat Quest games, and they are all enjoyable. Story 20. Bio Incorporated is essentially Plague Incorporated, but your objective is to save or kill a single character. Surprisingly, very few people discuss it on Reddit, And there is not even a TV Tropes article about the game, which is a shame as it is quite good. Definitely check out the PC version. The mobile version has noticeably worse graphics. Story 21. Way of the Samurai 3 is one of the most memorable games I have ever played. There are over 20 different endings depending on the choices you make during the game. You can craft your own katana and dual wield them. The combat is enjoyable, and the game is fun overall, despite its serious setting. There is a day-night cycle with different events occurring on certain days at specific times. The game features interesting and quirky characters, each with their own backstory. I love this game and no one seems to know about it. Story 22. Chasm is an early internet point-and-click puzzle game where you help a platypus restore the water line to his village. Story 23. Uckers. Story 24. Commander Keen. I loved visiting my uncle's house to play this series. Learning a whole new alphabet just to progress in Commander Keen was frustrating for my 10-year-old self, but I still look for it on emulators today. Story 25. Castles was an epic game. It is what all these build, protect your town, mine resources, and interact with neighbors' mobile games pretend to be. It is another game I look for on emulators. Story 26. Crime Fighter. Nothing beats kidnapping children from the playground for ransom money to buy me a set of grenades. Do it for the childhood. Story 27. Ty the Tasmanian Tiger is a boomerang throwing thylasin that must save the day against the evil cassowary, Boss Cass, and his army of frilled neck lizards and blue-tongued lizards. Story 28. More Like Loved. The game Decker came pre-installed on Windows XP but, for some reason, lay buried in the file directories. It was the first roguelike I ever encountered, and I played it every day in my mid-teens. I missed the days when I could get really into anything that felt unique to me at the time. Now, my tastes are very limited. Story 29. My friends and I invented a game called Munster when I was a teenager. In this game, you turn off the lights in a room and aimlessly throw whatever objects you can reach. Story 30. Killer 7. I really loved that game. It has unusual controls and an intriguing narrative. It is such a unique experience. Story 31. Two games come to mind, both on PlayStation 2. I worked late shifts, so I had many late-night gaming sessions back then. The one that impacted me the most was Dynasty Tactics by Koei. It was a turn-based strategy game with hundreds of unique units that interacted in clever ways. For example, if one unit used its special ability, it could push another unit back, triggering yet another ability, allowing players to chain attacks together. It was epic to line up these combos and watch the chaos unfold. It was challenging because I always wanted one more battle, but each fight would last about an hour. I often found myself still playing at 11 a.m. knowing I had a shift at 4 p.m. The other game is Freedom Fighters, a third-person shooter featuring recruitment and hilarious ragdoll physics. It was a lot of fun to discover characters in the sewers and recruit them for battle. In my opinion, it was one of the best cover-based shooters of that era. I truly miss the PlayStation 2 era when every game was distinctly different. Modern gaming is excellent, but the creativity seems suppressed by the high cost of production. Story 32. Some original Xbox classics include Metal Arms, Glitch in the System and iNinja, which was extremely well done for its time. Story 33. I remember when I was a kid, there was a Disney game on Apple where there was a pad and you placed a figure on the pad to play with it. One day, it randomly stopped working for all Apple users. Story 34. I don't know if it's unknown, but I miss playing The Simpsons. Hit and Run. I loved that game while growing up. Story 35. Noida is my go-to today. It is an incredibly challenging roguelike game with extensive lore, lengthy quests, and very few clues on how to navigate them. Even if you read all the spoilers, you wouldn't be able to complete half of it without investing many hours and grasping the basic concepts. On the surface, this may sound negative, but in reality, I have spent over 2,000 hours on it and I'm still not bored. Story 36. Illusion of Gaia may have been well known many years ago, but it seems history has forgotten it. Out of This World, also known as Another World in regions outside North America, and The Suffering are notable titles. Story 37. The Zoo Mythos. It has become a bit more popular with some bigger streamers participating, but it is still fairly obscure. I have loved those games ever since they were released, and I am glad the fandom is growing. Story 38. Kingdom Rush is the undisputed leader in tower defense games and continues to thrive, having released its fifth installment last summer. This success is impressive for an independent studio that began by creating Flash games. Story 39. Argus Panoptes is a superb game with excellent art, clever game design, and a good soundtrack. The vibes are incredible. While some levels can be frustrating, overall it is an awesome game. I highly recommend purchasing it. Story 40. I play hide and seek at my job. My colleagues just don't know that I hide, and they look for me. Does that count? I love my job, just in case anyone would think otherwise. Story 41. 13 in Roman numerals, created by Activision on PlayStation 2. It is reminiscent of GoldenEye. I found it in a Kmart bargain bin when it closed for $5. The game is awesome. I believe it is based on a book. Story 42. Guardian Legend. An old-school NES game with a Zelda-like open world, featuring boss levels that resemble overhead view, linear bullet hell games. It also boasts one of the most underrated NES soundtracks ever. Story 43. TMNT 3. The Manhattan Project. It gets overshadowed by Turtles in Time since that was an arcade and Super Nintendo Entertainment System game, whereas Turtles 3 was only on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Story 44. You were a weasel and a bunny that were handcuffed together in an animal testing facility, trying to escape. The bunny was the smart one, but the weasel would whip the bunny around and use it to hit the enemies. Story 45. Escape from Rose Cliff Island. Hidden Object Game, by Spin Top. I have never found anyone who has played it. Story 46. Kaboom! 1981. Activision. I'm sure there's an emulator. But where can I find a paddle controller for PC? I still play Dungeons & Dragons Online, which turns 19 years old this year, and they are upgrading hardware, dramatically improving gameplay. Story 47. Doki Doki Literature Club. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's great. It's available for free on Steam. Go play it, but go in blind. Trust me on this. Don't read up on it. Story 48. Talk to the Woman. Most of you have never heard of it, and there are some risks involved, but the reward can be, dare I say, highly fulfilling. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.